How would you say that ethical thinking or ethical choices factor into your own work? Specifically, how you lead now, what is it, a company and a school, how you think about connecting with the audience, but also your own work over the years as a dancer, above and beyond what you've drawn from Martha.
We really had, the entire organization had to do a 180. We had to go from being sort of goddess-centric to being audience-centric. Without Martha Graham, sort of the mecca that people would just travel and come to and fund and buy tickets to, without that draw, we became like many other dance companies, and we were more in debt and you know, had sort of policies and institutional methods that were 75 years old. So we really needed to change the culture of the organization. So it was a matter of not revering Martha as a woman, as a creative artist, a being, as we had while she was alive, but being able to understand the assets, her legacy, its relevance, what it could offer today's audience, today's world. How can we use this artistry, I want to say for good because it's ethics, but not so much for good, but how can we use this artistry to have an impact on today's world, today's audiences, today's students, today's funders, today's...
Well, it's interesting that you mentioned transformation of organizational culture, because that's a phrase that comes out a lot when we hear ethical scandals, for example, in banks.
Yes.
Or in pharmaceutical companies.
Right.
We're always hearing, or the journalists are always writing about, you know, it's a cultural, it's systemic, it's a cultural problem. They need to transform the culture of the corporation.
Right.
And people don't think about it so much in terms of the arts, but you really had to do that in terms of how you run the business, if I could call it that, or the institution,
Right.
as well as the shift, as you say, from the goddess to the audience.
Right.
And now we're in this very strange environment where, on the one hand, great artists like yourself and you, like the members of your company, are increasingly audience focused, as are the great orchestral conductors and others. And yet we're in this very self-centered, heavily digitalized social media kind of world. It's a bit of a contradiction.
You know, I look at all of that as new ways to move forward, new tools. You have to figure out what it means to this legacy. Is it going to dilute the legacy, or how do we use it without diluting the legacy? Those are the questions. But, you know, Martha was all about the future. She loved new stuff coming at her. She loved to experiment.